I gave it a few months to just test the waters with YouTube, see how things were going, and quite frankly, it's time I get a little spicier. Manhattan doctor sentenced to more than 17 years in prison for bribery and kickback scheme and for distributing oxycodone and fentanyl for no legitimate medical purpose. From the age of 21 until the age of 23, I saw Dr. Gordon Friedman in his office on 81st Street in Manhattan. And he was a total dick. Let me back up. My illness is called Behçet's. I have a rare illness that causes me much pain and suffering, and it's called Behçet's. And he told me that he didn't like that on the very first day. He sat me down and he said, I don't like having you as a patient because you're not going to look very good for my ratings. Because I'm not going to get better over time. It's a lifelong condition, so I'm going to be in pain for the rest of my life. So he thought it was appropriate to tell me that I would be bad for his analytics in the medical field. He also told me about this medication that would significantly help my pain, called fentanyl. Let me tell you a little bit about my experience with fentanyl. I cannot speak to everyone's experience with fentanyl. I have only my experience. That's all I'll speak on. It was rough. It was rough. It was very strong, but also very uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable the entire time. I was uncomfortable in his office until I left, because all I knew about fentanyl was that it was the drug that killed Michael Jackson. Not a great start. Not a great start. Here's the thing. Fentanyl's not made for patients like that. Not for patients like me. Fentanyl's made for dying cancer patients. What happened in this case is he prescribed oxycodone and fentanyl to a patient who didn't need it because he was bribed by the medical companies. He was taking bribes. These pill mills are basically places where he could, go and make people want to be prescribed these medications because, listen, he's a doctor. He's got X amount of years under his belt. He's a renowned doctor in New York City. He knows what he's talking about. Of course he must know what he's talking about. Well, guy died. So, U.S. Attorney Audrey Strauss said Dr. Gordon Friedman, a prominent Manhattan physician, allowed his medical judgment to be corrupted by hundreds of thousands of dollars in bribes that he accepted from Insys in return for prescribing Subsys, a potent fentanyl painkiller. These payments were made to appear like legitimate speaker program fees, but as the evidence at Friedman's trial revealed, the speaker programs were a sham and were simply a way for Insys to line Friedman's pockets. In addition, Friedman prescribed excessive quantities of oxycodone and fentanyl to one of his patients for no legitimate medical purpose. This patient overdosed and died from fentanyl prescription by Friedman. Friedman will now be serving a long prison sentence for accepting bribes and prescribing medically unnecessary opioids. I remember when he first put me on fentanyl. It was an uncomfortable conversation, and quite frankly, if you are thinking of going on any pain medications, you have to know this. These doctors oftentimes are being paid by the prescription companies. And medicine is a business. I hate to break it to you if you're not really in medicine or if you haven't had many medical treatments before, but what can I say? He pretty much forced this medication upon me. He told me that it was my only option, that it was the only thing that was going to help me, and that if I wanted to feel better, I would be wise to take the medication. It almost felt like a threat in a weird way. It was like, do you want to be better or not? Do you want to feel better or not? Of course the answer was yes. What was I going to say? No, I don't want this life-changing drug that this miracle medication that you seem to be prescribing to many people that seems to be helping them. I don't want to say no to that. Well, I was on it. I was on it all right. And let me tell you, it was horrible. I wanted more. I wanted more pretty quickly. And it was terrible to get off of. I decided that, it was not smart for me to be on it, that, this is a dangerous situation and that I should be really careful. Quite frankly, I didn't trust this man. This man was really forceful and not very nice, and at the time I just wanted to get out of his way, so I went on fentanyl. And it was a horrible experience. Chills, fevers, that kind of thing, but also like withdrawal symptoms right off the bat, right when I didn't have it, during the times I wasn't supposed to have it, in the interim between when you take it and when it's supposed to wear off. It was wearing off way quicker than I could make up for. And I wanted more and more and more. And seeing that behavior in myself really freaked me out, and so I decided to get off of it. So I called the office. And I said, tell Dr. Friedman that I'd like to get off fentanyl and that I think it's too strong and it's really freaking me out. And he called back and he basically told me that I was being a wimp. He basically shamed me into wanting to take more. So I did what I had to do. I detoxed myself. This is not a point of pride. I'm not saying that if this happened to you and you didn't detox off of it, you're a bad person, or I'm not judging you if this is not how your story happened. I'm just saying that I was really freaked out by it, and I got off the medication by myself. I went through withdrawal, didn't tell anyone, had lots of Gatorade, saltines. It was terrible. Lots of vomiting and sweats and hallucinations and, everything that goes into drug withdrawal. And it's not right that I had to go through that, but it's worse for this man. It's worse for this person who didn't survive. Because while the case only cites one person that Dr. Friedman at the time gave excess fentanyl to, an oxycodone, he also prescribed me oxy. He prescribed me most pain medications that I can think of. If you're watching this and you're considering going on pain medication or dabbling in oxy or fentanyl, just be careful. Do your research, stay informed. If you can, take less than your dose. If you're worried about, getting addicted, because it happens. It doesn't discriminate, Addiction doesn't discriminate. It doesn't discriminate against anybody. It can happen to anyone. So just be careful, stay aware, If you feel like something's off, you're probably right. You're probably right. It doesn't take a medical professional to know when something's fishy. Sometimes something's just fishy. And you have to be the one sometimes to investigate that. Sometimes you have to be your own biggest advocate, especially if you spend a lot of time with the doctor. I will post the article that I'm reading from down in the comments. Go check it out. Real story. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this Spicy Friday video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and go follow me on other socials. I have a TikTok, I have a Instagram, but I also have a Patreon. It's a safe space community that I've created for people who want to be inclusive and want to include others in the conversation. And it's a place where you can get to know me better. So, go ahead and check out my Patreon. I'll link it down below. And thank you to my newest Patreon members, Rachel, Uncle Bear, and Claire. Have a great day.